Hey there, Mama Work It Tribe. I'm Marisa and Dr, working mom of 4, lover of all things flow, family, and fulfillment. You're tuning in to the Mama Work It podcast, where we take aim at overwhelm, mom guilt, and exhaustion and swap them out for big dreams, belly laughs, and productivity that actually fits into your life. Every week, we dive into tips, motivation, and a healthy dose of fun so you can slay your day even when you're busy AF. Ready to feel seen, energized, and totally unstoppable? Let's get to work, mama. Hey, mamas. Welcome back to another awesome episode of the Mama Work It podcast. So glad you're here. If you are new to the show, my name is Marisa and Dr. I am your host and the founder of Mama Work It, where we support women in the juggle of mom life, work life, wife life, fill in the blank life. Always exciting to have a guest on our show, and today is no different. Her name is Dr. Michelle L. Khoury. She is the founder of Yogamazia, a maternal and children's wellness education hub serving families at every stage. As a former pharmaceutical executive and mother of 3, Michelle provides structured, holistic support to help working mothers navigate pregnancy and early parenthood while staying true to their values and purpose. With over 20 years of global healthcare leadership and extensive perinatal expertise, she empowers women to navigate the transition to parenthood through her signature S.M.A.R.T. S.M.A.R.T Journey to Parenting framework. Her passion for redefining how we approach major life transitions has helped hundreds of women discover that transformation is about evolving into deeper presence, leadership, and fulfillment in both their professional and parenting roles. Super excited to have you here, Dr. Michelle. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so excited as well.
Well, good. I always love to ask guests first and foremost, I'd love to hear more about your journey as a working mom, as a professional, just all the hats that you wear.
Yep. Definitely. I think my journey was one that took 2 very different paths before they finally converged. As you mentioned in my bio, I am a pharmacist by training, and after practicing a few years, I climbed that corporate ladder for over 20 years in the pharmaceutical industry. And, doing all the things that we would traditionally define as successful. I managed teams, I managed multi-million-dollar budgets, traveled all over the world, published in prestigious medical journals. But on the flip side, it was the juggle, right? That people don't see. Raising my 3 children, trying to be there for my partner, those corporate demands. And I personally had to navigate a few instances of workplace bias. And, that all takes a toll, mentally, physically. It all caught up with me in the end. I was eventually hospitalized with heart issues that gave me an initial wake-up call. Let's put it that way. I feel like that still was not the moment that made me rethink my life. Eventually, that turning point came when I realized that I wasn't there for my children in the way that they needed me to be in that moment. And I think that's when I had to take a pause to say to myself, okay, what do I really want in my life? And how can I really live these 2 roles, being the leader and being the parent? And that's where where they converged eventually. And so after, thinking about it and really going through that, that's when I left it. I gave it up and founded Yogamazia about 5 years ago. And it really is just, for me, aligning that career with my purpose today. And I love doing the work that I do and working with the women and the families that I work with.
Yeah. It's so interesting to me, but also not surprising that as a mom, as a woman, your wake-up call wasn't when you were hospitalized. It was at a later moment when you were thinking more about your role as a parent and being there for your kids.
Yeah, it's a big shift, right? Because you work so hard to get to where you want. But I think for me, it was really, how do I use that leadership and help me step into the person who I was meant to be? It just wasn't meant to be in the role that I had then in that career. And
Right.
that's where I came up with the SMART journey, because we have SMART goals for our lives. For, for in as you're sitting in your job, we sit and we do these SMART goals, and every year they review them, or every quarter they review them, but then we don't do that personally.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do we marry the two? And that's where the idea for the SMART journey to parenting came from.
I love it. I can't wait to talk more about it. So you help working moms expand their vision beyond just surviving. I love that. And I think that's so needed. What's the biggest mindset shift that needs to happen first, in your opinion?
I think we need to take a step back. The biggest shift for me, and certainly as I work with the woman that I work with, it's really reclaiming what you truly desire. What is it that you really want? And giving yourself permission to want it. Not what the world tells us we should want or how it should look, but what do we want? Because we've absorbed so many limiting beliefs, in our lives, and that's how we've ended up living the life. So we may have had, much bigger dreams than we do or did back then, but we think that living those dreams is selfish when it's not, right? So when we start to get clear on what that looks like, then you're really able to then think about, okay, before you even execute any of these goals, how do you want to feel? That's the first question I ask, if I use pregnancy as an example. They come in and I can give all the information, okay, well, this is the hospital that you're going to be at. Okay. And these are the questions the doctor's asking. And, oh, let's, prepare for this, and let's do this, and let's do all the checkbox. But at the end of the day, if you're going through all of that, the anxiety, the overwhelm, the chaos, all of that, it merges at some point, right? And so I always ask, how do you want to feel when you have this baby? Or let's even think 6 months from now, when you're going back to work, how do you want to feel? And I ask them to give me like 1 to 3 words. Usually it's around 3. If we go too high, then, and those are the 3 words I work with. That's my goal. At the end of that time and that journey that I've worked with them, and I ask them, okay, did I accomplish this? Did we accomplish this? How do you feel in this moment right now? If those two align, then I've done my job. Because we have to think that it's not really about the doing, which is what we focus on a lot, but come back to how we want. What do we want? And how do we want to feel with that? And that is what helps us to be a little bit more, I would say, prepared for whatever it is that we're going through in life, whatever that transition is. That becomes the path, the compass that you're setting to then navigate the journey.
That is so good. It takes me back because I took one of those classes before I had my first babies. I had twins first. And I remember Dr. Michelle getting all the logistics, taking the hospital tour, and completely breaking down. Like, had to be separated, put in a room, was just surprised myself. And it was at no fault to the lovely nurse who was giving us this information. I think that was the missing element, though, is like, I didn't even know. I was so focused on the doing, on the logistics, on the planning, right, of the process. I didn't even know how I wanted to feel. And so it all just came down on me. So that is like such a missing core element, I think, in so much of this. Absolutely.
If you have that vision of where you're going, not in the doing part, but this is how you want to feel as the person, this is, and you see yourself there. That's what and we have to constantly do it, right? It's not a one time, that's it, we're done, and then we go. Think about it. You're not a one-time mom. I'm not a one-time mom. So every journey would be different. Same thing in life with work and school and everything else. But as you keep reassessing and then resetting that vision, it allows you to then be able to prepare strategically for it because you're seeing yourself there.
We're missing an important prerequisite, it sounds like, in a lot of what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's talk about presence for a minute. How do you think presence helps a working mom achieve her goals faster rather than slowing it down? Because a lot of times we're just like going at the speed of lightning. We have checking things off our list, right? How does
Yep.
that almost like slowing down to speed up? How does that happen?
So that was one of the bigger things that I learned. Eventually, I didn't learn it till after the fact, though, which is so, it's not everything is not it's not a mistake for me. It's certainly a growing and learning opportunity. But I'm going to use my third pregnancy as an example before I answer the question.
Perfect.
With my first, I was sort of similar to what you just mentioned. You kind of know what you know and you don't know what you don't know. And then you just walk into the room and anything that could possibly happen happened with me. You said, this is what you need to do. I said, fine. Whether informed consent was in there, that's questionable. But I walked out of that, not just only physically traumatized, I was mentally traumatized too. I didn't want to really put the effort into making parenthood or motherhood in that moment. It was not the easiest, I would say. And I had postpartum depression and ended up with mastitis and all of these different things. So there was a lot going on. And as I moved through, by the time I got to my second, started practicing yoga and, a lot of elements started falling into place. Now, mind you, I'm still running the career, right? Living the life and getting the promotions and doing all the things, but it was still all the doing, the doing, the doing, the doing. And when I got to my third, something happened. I started really thinking about, okay, how can I make the experience to what I wanted to feel?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about, okay, you have a healthy baby. Congratulations. Go on. And that happened with the first and that happened with the second. But I really started to question what that looked like. And I ended up meeting a wonderful, wonderful lady who was a hypnobirthing educator. She also happened to be a doula. That really paved the way for me. And I was practicing yoga, but mindfulness really came into play there. And I focused a lot on visualizations and really allowing this, getting further into the subconscious. And so this is where I'm coming to answer your question on the things that we need to let go of to be able to be more present in whatever that experiences that you are living. And that allowed me to really rethink how I felt about pain. I'll use that as an example. And so I walked through that entire pregnancy with a different mindset and different practices. And to the point where I woke up and she came out. There was no labor. There was no, okay, let's get to the hospital. Let's do all the things. We skipped that entirely. I woke up and I said to my husband, I think I'm having the baby. And literally woke up, got up off the bed, and within 30 minutes she was out. And I
Wow.
liken that experience to how we can lead with presence now in our lives and everything that we're doing. Because the data is there, the science is there that shows us and it supports how when we, are more present and more intentional, we're able to make better decisions faster. We're able to think more strategically, think more clearly, and the doing becomes much more in line, right? It's not this chaotic spiral of to-do lists and checkbox. But more importantly, that presence allows you to create the space that you need to make for yourself. Mentally, emotionally, physically, of course. But then we are working from that clarity. And the path is very, very clear. And it's not just for you though, right? You are then creating a ripple effect. So think about the emotional resilience that you're modeling for your children, for your team leaders, for your peers, for your friends. that it compounds exponentially from there. And, so it really looks like very simple practices. I gave the example of me being pregnant because I had a vision for that. But if you think about day to day when we're managing, all of our kids and work-life balance, how many times in the day are we really stopping to just take a few conscious deep breaths? That's just a very simple example, right? We are so accustomed to just go, go, go. And that's one example of a practice that I have really brought into, and I need it because I have heart issues now. So I need to really sit and say to myself, because I have to check my heart rate a few times a day. And I can tell now, I'm so in tune with my body that I can tell when I know something's off with it. And that's just one example, but there's so many others, right? You can, even when we're eating, how many times do we sit to really enjoy what we're eating? Like, if I think back at all the years where it's like, you're going to work and you said it's okay, you have 10 minutes before the next meeting, chomp, 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 go. Right? Simple habits that we can integrate into our lives that will allow us, especially us working moms, because we're the superwoman, right? Everybody looks to us as the golden goddesses, is what I call us. And we are. But we also have to make sure that we are also living our lives in the way that is meaningful and impactful, not just to, support or to have, meet the goals of our jobs, but we want to meet the goals of our personal lives as well.
Yeah. So let me ask you something with related to that example of like, you have 10 minutes before the meeting. It's like, if you don't eat now, you don't eat. How does someone in situations like that lean more into this presence and mindfulness that you are telling us is so powerful? And I believe it. I mean, I totally have seen the benefits.
Maybe it might mean that you're not sitting with someone for lunch. It's intentionally saying to yourself, today I'm going to take the time to just go outside and sit in the fresh air, eat my yogurt or whatever it is for the 10 minutes, take a few deep breaths, and then go back inside.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to mention something else too that really triggered me is when you said the thing about even just a few deep breaths throughout the day at different moments. And I already can hear like the negativity in a lot of our brains going, who has time for that? But when you think about it, how many times a day are you unintentionally picking up your phone and scrolling?
Right?
Or unintentionally,
Exactly.
like what I call it productive procrastination, where I like to just fill moments sometimes with like productive tasks that maybe are just not as beneficial and helpful and necessary as like probably those deep breaths would be in that moment. So I think that you got to catch yourself if you're listening to this and coming up with little excuses. Catch yourself in that moment and know that that's just an intentional choice you can be making.
Exactly. It's all about intention and use it to your advantage. If you are one person who's always on your phone, I'm not going to tell you don't be on your phone. That is an intentional and conscious choice that you have to make for yourself. I have made the decision that there are times of the day that I'm not going to have that phone next to me, right? So that it can allow me to sit and eat intentionally, or more mindfully. Same thing with going to bed at night. Very simple things. I don't put the phone next to my head. I have it all the way in the bathroom so that when that alarm goes off, I have no choice but to get up off the bed and go across to the bathroom. Same thing with, taking those breaths. I have an Apple Watch. We have all of these devices that can help us, and you can put timers on there. All of the different apps. You don't even need an app, but there are things that we can put in place to help us to create and sustain those habits.
Yeah. Yeah. I can remember years ago, probably pre-Apple Watch days. I don't know, or I just didn't have one. I still don't have one, to be honest.
Fitbits. I think it was Fitbits.
Yeah, but I was in the corporate world. We're going through like a massive transition, database transition. I was spearheading the training initiative for the whole company. It was very stressful. Plus momming, 3 kids at the time, or
Mhm.
2 kids turned 3. And I had a sticky note on my laptop that said breathe in all caps. And that was my reminder.
That's it. It's so
Yeah.
funny that you said that because in our yoga studio here in Pennsylvania, um, our wall has a very beautiful graphic that aligns to the values and what the meaning of our logo and everything represents. And um, along there are affirmations and it's waves. The designer really captured exactly what I was trying to get in for anyone who walks in this door. And along all of the affirmations, there are words everywhere. And one person came to me one day and said, I just realized that the word that's the most on the wall is breathe. And that was intentional.
Yeah.
Exact reason
Yeah.
to remind us to take that pause.
Absolutely. This episode is being sponsored by Cozy Earth. It's a new year and I love a fresh start. A simple way to make that happen in your home: refresh your sheets and towels to start off 2026 right. As a mom, sleep can be a hot commodity. So when you get it, you want it to be that good. Well, let me just say, if sleeping in the comfort of what heavenly softness must feel like sounds like the best thing ever to you, go get yourself some Cozy Earth sheets. These are the most lush sheets I have ever slept on. It's like a hug from the sleep fairy after a very long, exhausting day of working mom life. And if you're like me and you don't get to visit the spa very often during this season of your life, before you get into that bed with your Cozy Earth sheets, go take an extra long shower and then wrap yourself in a Cozy Earth bath towel. I'm telling you, you can trick your mind into thinking you just visited a luxury spa. These purchases are risk-free, which means you can try them out. And if you don't love them, return them hassle-free. But trust me, you won't want to. And they have a 10-year warranty. What? Like, my oldest kids will be in college and these sheets will still be under warranty. That is insane. Do yourself a favor, start the year off right by gifting yourself the most lush sheets or towels or both, because you have been working it and you deserve it. Go to CozyEarth.com and use my code MAMA, that's MAMA, for up to 20% off. And if you get a post-purchase survey, be sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here on the Mama Work It podcast. What do you think is the most dangerous trap ambitious women fall into moving through any sort of like major life change, whether that's pregnancy or adding to your family or job changes or relationship changes? Talk to us about that.
You just mentioned it, the phone, right? The devices,
Mm,
the all of the media. It's really information overload. We're taking in so much, right? The thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of data that's coming in, and we are only able to, our brain can only really capture a very minute amount of that. And
mm-hmm.
so what are we choosing to capture? It's like taking a picture of your life, right? You're taking all of these shots. What's the one that you're going to keep? And I think, we fall into this trap of more information, bring it in, that's better for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then you end up being paralyzed and you're conflicted because now you're like, oh my goodness, well, I don't know what to do. Oh my goodness, now I'm overwhelmed. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, I have like 5 more hours left and I have 10 more things to do. But what are we doing about that, right? And I think that's the trap of not being able to discern what needs to be taken in that moment for us for that purpose. So whatever we identify as needing to do for the day or needing to learn. If, again, I always come back to pregnancy, right? A pregnant person, you mention it, you can have all of the things, right? Go to all of the classes. And I've seen that. I have students like that, they're all the type A personalities and they want to do everything and they're absolutely prepared. And then you
That was
go in
me.
and then you go in and it was,
And you have a breakdown.
right? And so when in all of this preparation, yes, having the information is important, but what is more important is what are the things that you're pulling out from there? What are the smaller pieces of the data? I come from that analytical world, right? And you get all, back in the week, we'd come get all of these studies, we get all of these tables, but we're not going to publish every single, it's like 1,000 tables. We have to be able to disseminate that and, break it all down and take the most important elements to then go publish. And so it's the same thing in life. It's the same thing. What are the things that actually matter right now to us in that decision-making process that we're in, right? And then giving yourself permission to say, okay, that's it. I'm turning off the TV now. I'm putting my phone down now. I'm not going to ask one more person to see if I can get the same answer 10 more times. That's what we do sometimes, right? We keep talking, saying the same thing to someone else, hoping that it wouldn't change and what we already feel, like just following what we feel. So being able to discern when that information is enough for us, but also aligned with our values so that we can then just make a decision on whatever that is, quality over quantity.
Yeah. And for someone listening who's questioning how they will know, how do you lean into that discernment?
I always come back to what am I feeling?
Mm-hmm.
How do I want to feel, right? It's the end path. So if in this moment you are having all of this information and you're sitting there and you have a feeling that is not in line with what you want to feel, that's the first clue. But and I am very guilty of it, we ignore it. We ignore that first or second or third sign. And then something happens that may not necessarily be, good. And that's when we realized it. And so it's trying to get before what I am trying to do and helping others is getting before that point. So
let me give you an example. This is what's coming to mind for me.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in the middle of a really hard workout, I feel like stressed or tired or whatever, right? But I want to feel at the end really proud and accomplished. So I make myself push myself through it.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about that.
Physical workouts are so, for me, very, I'm so in tune with my body now. I think if I go into it saying, I would love to do 30 minutes of X today, and I start going through it, but let's say my heart rate is getting a little bit over what I know I could push and do a little bit more. I think that's when you have to stop and question, okay, am I doing this is it more of an internal or an external goal? Internally, we want to accomplish this. We want to feel this at the end of the day, and that's great. If I got up to 15 minutes, would I still feel proud? Yes, because it was about getting there, right? You started with an intention and being intentional about that. So if you stopped halfway through your workout, it's about if I ask you, how do you feel after that? And you say, well, I don't feel good because I didn't, and then you ignore all of the hard work that your body just put in for the first 15 minutes, then that's not in line with what you were saying, right? That you wanted to achieve. So, I think, again, it always is to me that internal perspective on what your original vision was, because it's like I said before, we focus a lot on the doing part and the executing part and not coming back to what was the original goal. What was that intention at the very beginning? And so trying to marry the two, which takes time.
I know, because you know what? As I'm thinking about this and trying to exemplify it, and I practice a lot of subconscious things. So I feel like I'm even like maybe ahead of the learning curve a little bit here,
There
but
you go.
my end result of like, how do I want to feel is very much linked to a doing thing, like,
Yes. It's
yeah,
hard for us to pull it away, right?
yes,
And it's
yes.
not to say that it's not related. That's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to, every vision has goals and every goals has to have action steps, right? And you're executing what those action steps are to come back to the original vision. But if we are focused only on the action step, then it's going to take away from what that original intention is.
Yeah. Wow.
If
Okay.
you
I feel
use
like I
pregnancy
have,
as an example, the goal is to have a baby and have that healthy baby. Everybody
yeah,
has a healthy baby, or everybody has, 90% of the time you're getting, the physical elements are achieved and accomplished.
right.
But your vision was, I would love to have this healthy baby and feel supported and calm and peaceful at the end. Did you achieve that?
Right. Yeah. I feel like I have so much more I could chat with you about, but this is a 30-minute show, so I'm going to keep it moving. And maybe we continue this chat offline. All right, we're going to move into our lightning round now, where I like to ask our guests just some random, fun, personal questions so our listeners can get to know you a little better. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be? Calories don't count.
Well, I'm laughing at that one because my kids can answer this one for you. Um, I could probably just live off of Cheetos for the rest of my life. That is my, yeah, you can bribe me with anything
I
that's
gotta
related.
say, like, that is a surprising answer from you.
Everybody
This
says that.
mindful yogi.
Believe it or not, that is the thing that gets me grounded. Like if I need to be in like a thoughtful moment, I'll be
Yeah.
like chomping my Cheetos down with it.
Okay. All right. I love that answer. It's so authentic. So good. What's your guilty pleasure TV show?
TV show, I will say it's a mix between Scandal and Game of Thrones. I watch a lot of different ones, but those are the two that if I just want to sit and binge one day, I'll put that on.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Nice.
one of
Okay.
those. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Would you say you're more of an introvert or an extrovert?
I think I'm a mix. Some people might meet me and depending on the circumstance in which they met me, they'll think that I'm more introverted and I am. But then, I think when I'm around family and like close friends, I've had people be with me and this actually just happened to me. I went to a conference and I had a roommate. We had just met and we spent a whole week together. It was amazing. And we're going through the week and my mother called and the conversation was so different, right? We were having a whole different conversation. And she looked at me, she was like, oh my gosh, this is like a different person. So I think it's a mix depending on the situation.
Got it. Okay. Last question. What's something most people may not know about you?
Something that one, maybe one, when I was younger, when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a fashion designer.
Yeah.
Ended up in the science world, but
Little different.
so far away. But yeah, I don't think anybody knows
Awesome.
that.
All right. Well, good. Well, tell our listeners where they can find you, where they can learn more about what you do, Yogamazia, and all the wonderful things that you're doing to support women and moms.
Yes, I would absolutely love to chat. You can find me at smartparentingwithmichelle.com. I am always available. We are building a beautiful community within the maternal space. And so if you're navigating that transition, I would love to help you lead with more presence and still be able to be the rock star that you are in your professional life.
Thank you, Dr. Michelle. It's been a pleasure having you today.
Thank you. Really, really wonderful meeting you and having this conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you feel empowered, inspired, and ready to take your next step. If this episode spoke to you, share it with another amazing mama, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps us show up wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to head over to mamaworkit.com for free resources, coaching support, and new ways to momage your days as a busy mom. Until next time, keep on working it, mama.